Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm AndyRC and today I'm going to be checking out the Makerfire Armor 67. Now I've already reviewed a model on the channel called the Makerfire Armor, but that was the 90mm version and they make this 67mm version, so I guess you could say it's competing with the likes of the Aurora series, which has a model of a similar size here. So we have got the 1535 propellers here, and you're given a spare set of those. Now there's actually no screws in there, they tension fit on there, which is fine. Looks like we've got some spare screws and nuts in there, but I think that is for the standoffs here, so I expect maybe with vibrations maybe those come off. Anyways, let's take a look at the spec. So it weighs 45 grams without a battery, it weighs 65 grams with a battery, so fairly lightweight model, but it needs to be with these small propellers. The motors, they are Makerfire branded and they are 1103 10,000 kV motors, so they need to be a really high kV motor for these tiny propellers because they're going to have to rev up to make up for the lack of surface area there. Then we have got a battery that's included. So suggest connector, it's a 2-cell, it's a 400 milliamp 2S30C. Now this model actually has got a built-in on-screen display. It doesn't have a beeper, mind, but yeah, it's gonna need a fair amount of C rating to cope with all that, so I'll have to see whether this battery can cope with that. But yeah, we have BL Halley S 4-in-1 ESCs that is set up with D-Shot 300, and then yeah, we have an Omnibus F3 flight controller here, and then we have a 48 channel camera and VTX combo. So we have got this button at the front here, and I think a short press flips the image, and then a long press changes between NTSC and PAL, and then this back one here, it's a long press to go through the different bands, and then a short press to go through the different channels, and a sleeve dipole antenna on the top there as well. The camera is actually fixed in this 3D printed mount, and it seems to be hot glued in, so I don't think that's coming out anytime soon there. Yeah, so what else do we get in the package? Well, you actually get 2 of these bands to keep the battery in. However, I have lost one already. You're given a screwdriver now. It seems that everything on this model here is using a Phillips head screwdriver, I think. Oh, apart from just these standoffs here, just these 3. So, yeah, not sure why that is, but yeah, you're given a screwdriver though, I think, because look at this. You see the USB connector here on the back, the socket. You can't get to it, even with a very slimline USB connector, so I took this back standoff out here so that I could plug my USB connector in there, because it has got a DSM2 receiver. Now it's the same DSM2 receiver that was on the Armor 90, and I discovered that it wasn't very good, so I'm not expecting great range out of this. You can see somewhere that the antenna comes through here, it's just a little copper wire. Terrible range on it, probably about, was it about 20-30 meters, something like that. It's got a bind button on it here, so yeah, you just bind it using the button rather than a command, and I think it is working with DSM-X. I just got it bound to my Tyrannus here with an orange RX module in the back there, which I have set up for DSM-X, so I think it does DSM2 and also DSM-X. Now, on the website it says that you can just get it in DSM2, but in the manual here there is some instructions for how to bind it to a FreeSky receiver, so maybe they're coming out with a different receiver. I hope so, because I really don't like this one at all. But yeah, pretty good instructions. This one came with the latest version of Betaflight flash to it, which is 3.17, and I think it's intended for just flying indoors because it only had angle mode set up and then it was arming on the rudder. I of course have gone in there and changed all that and I've also messed with the PIDs as well, because it was just stock Betaflight PIDs. I think the only thing that I did was reduced the D down, because I think like 3.17 D is at about 30 to 35, so I reduced the D to about 22, I think. So I have messed with the PIDs, because I don't think it's going to fly very nicely with the PIDs that were on there out of the box. So you're also given this balance charger as well, but because it's JST, I'm going to be able to charge it off my hobby grade charger. And yeah, I'm not too keen on this battery at just 30C, so I think I'm also going to try one of these batteries here. It's only 35C, but it's 350 milliamps. It's a little bit light. It's actually the battery from the King Kong series that I'm going to reuse, and we'll see how it goes on that battery as well a little bit later. Other than that, I have changed the super rate to 0.8. I've also shifted around some of the things on the on-screen display as well, and just set it up how I like to have it, just the usual stuff there. So another thing that I have done with this model in Betaflight is I have put a command into the CLI, and that command is set small underscore angle equals 180. And the reason I've done that is, well, a couple of reasons. So when this model is sat on its battery like that, it's impossible to get it to sit flat, and therefore, because the quadcopter isn't flat, it won't let you arm it. So if you put that command into the CLI and then press save, it will let you arm the quadcopter no matter which angle it's at. Another good thing about that is if you sort of crash it or land in a tree and disarm, then it will let you rearm it and you can sort of shake it out of a tree. I learned that the hard way recently. But another good thing about that as well is because this model doesn't have a buzzer built into it, I've been finding that if I set that option and when it comes down I can sort of go and look around and then sort of arm it very quickly, and I can hear it rustling around. So yeah, it's not the best option, but you know, with the lack of space for buzzer on here, then it's something that I have done. Okay, let's go for a line of sight with this one. Starting off in angle mode, you can see how nicely it sits on the floor to one side, hence putting that command in. So the first thing I'm looking for here is drift in angle mode, and it seems to be alright. This thing is so tiny. It really is. Okay, let's try a punch out. That's not bad actually. For the size of these props, that's not too bad. Yeah, I thought it'd be less than that actually. So I'm still in angle mode here. Doesn't appear to be drifting, but like I say, usually is a lottery there. And look at this, we've got some sun. Finally, where have you been? We had a day the other day and it didn't rain all day. And it's forecast not to today as well. And that has been our summer. Well, let's try some Acro, but it's probably not designed for it, but there you go. But it's doing it. Look at that backflip. And the tune doesn't seem too bad either. Oh, but I can't see it now because it's too small. It's not too noisy. I'm hearing some slight vibrations like rattles and stuff, but it doesn't seem to affect how it flies. Look at that. Flying nicely. Of course, with it not having a beeper, I'm not going to be able to tell when the battery's running low, I'm probably only gonna get 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes. Well, I don't have any brownouts yet on the line of sight flight. I think I can feel the battery depleting a little bit here. It's really tricky getting the orientation correct when it's this small. I mean, it's not really designed for line of sight, is it really? Let's face it. But it does it, nonetheless. Okay, I wonder what happens now if I flick into angle mode. No drift. No drift, look at that. It is a lottery with these things, whether you're gonna get drift from vibrations and stuff. I think the battery's getting low. Okay, let's come in for a landing and do some FPV with it. So you can see the angle that I'm having to take off at here, which is why I put that command in, and it works fine. So I had a good feeling from the stock battery in the line of sight flight, but then when I did some FPV and did full throttle, you can see there that the video is cutting out at the top of the throttle, and that is because that this battery does not have a high enough C rating to cope with the amp draw. So when I do full throttle, something gives in and it's the camera. So I flew it around for like a minute or so, and yeah, this receiver, just as I thought, is no good for outdoors, and I let it get it too far away from me and it fail-safed, which you will see here. So I then switched out the battery to the King Kong 350 milliamp 35C battery, which actually isn't a great battery either, but it's a higher C rating than the one that comes with this model, and it flew fine then. I was still getting dropouts regarding range, but that's a problem with the receiver, I believe, rather than a brownout of the receiver, because I was finding that consistent with the Armor 90 as well. Like I say, that one was fine indoors. Again, you get round a certain wall though, and you would lose range. So yeah, really, I think they are aiming for this one to be flown indoors only, but I think if it had a better receiver, it'd be great for flying outdoors and indoors. I mean, just look how nicely it is flying. I'm pretty impressed with how easy it was to tune, first of all, because I just changed a couple of figures, but it flew really smoothly. Usually when they are this small and have like a crazy weight distribution and have these prop protectors that flight controllers aren't really designed to be around, then that can upset how it flies, but not with this one. Probably one of the best of these really tiny micro/nanos out there. Just the receiver let it down, so I hope that they come out with a FrSky version, or even like a plug and fly version that you could put your own receiver on there, because I think that's what I'm going to do, get one of those little D8 receivers or something like that, maybe an XM, and stick that on there and hopefully get a bit more range out of it, because all you can really do is sort of just fly around yourself, which is what I'm doing here. And like I say, yeah, I didn't get any dropouts then, so I just think it's a terrible range receiver, and that's it. And I think it's a shame about the battery as well. It seems that like in 99% of the cases that I get with these models is the battery that they have supplied just isn't sufficient enough, so they might as well just sell them for a cheaper price, I think, and let us use our own batteries and maybe even our own receivers, you know, because it's just no point paying more for an inadequate battery. So yeah, there you go. But yeah, I like this model, I like the innovation, I like the design. It's just not got great range, and I think if you're flying it just indoors, you will have more fun than flying it outdoors. Anyway, that is my review of the Armor 67. I'll put a link in the description if you wish to get one. As always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe,